everyone. Tonight, we're leaving the noise of the modern world behind. The notifications, the errands, the low hum of worry that follows you from room to room. We're setting all of that down gently, like a cup of warm tea onto a steady table. We are drifting back through centuries that have folded on top of each other like layers of old sandstone, past the Romans, past the Greeks, further still, until the air thins and the stars look different, and the world is quieter in the way only old places can be. We are going to the sun-drenched plateau of Giza, nearly 4,500 years ago. We've all seen the Hollywood version of this story, thousands of whip-cracked slaves struggling under a burning sun to build monuments for a tyrant, dramatic music, crumbling stone, a villain with a golden headdress. But the reality, found in the dust of the laborer's village, is far more human, and in its own way, far more comforting. Forget the images of chains and cruelty. The reality of building the pyramids was a world of organized rations, skilled craftsmanship, and communal beer. It was a world of brotherhood, of belonging, of aching muscles rewarded with a hot meal and a safe place to rest. Imagine, instead, a community coming together to build something eternal. Before you get too cozy, take a second to settle in. Pull your blanket up, let your pillow find the right shape. If you enjoy these quiet journeys into the past, let your mind rest as we explore the mundane, beautiful logistics of pyramid construction. Take a deep breath, let the day melt away. It is a lovely thing to know who else is drifting off with us around the world tonight. Somewhere in a dark bedroom, someone in another country is hearing these same words. Another tired person, just like you, letting history carry them to sleep. Now, dim the lights. Setting the scene in Heit el-Ghurab, the village at the Wall of the Crow. Let your shoulders sink. Imagine stepping into the cool pre-dawn air of the Old Kingdom, roughly 2560 BCE. You are standing in the village of Heit el-Ghurab, a name that translates poetically to the Wall of the Crow. It is a real place. Archaeologists have spent decades carefully brushing sand from its bones, and what they have found is not a camp of misery, but a functioning, breathing community. The sun is just beginning to roll over the horizon like a lazy egg spilling golden yolk across the mud brick rooftops. The sky goes from deep indigo to a bruised purple, then to a pale, dusty orange. The stars fade one by one, as if someone is slowly turning down a lamp. The air doesn't smell of incense or gold. It smells of wood smoke, of damp Nile mud, that rich, dark, fertile smell that has no equivalent in the modern world. And underneath it all, the unmistakable, yeasty, warm tang of sourdough bread being pulled from communal ovens somewhere nearby. This isn't a place of myth, it's a place of living. You feel the grit of the sand beneath your feet, cooled by the night air, still faintly damp from the dew. The village is beginning to stir around you. You hear the low murmur of voices, the distant clank of copper tools being gathered, the soft padding of sandaled feet on packed earth paths. There are perhaps 4,000 people who live and work here, rotating in and out in organized gangs. They have come from all over Egypt, from the delta in the north where the Nile fans out into the sea, from the high desert cliffs of the south, from farming villages where the annual flood marks the passage of the year like a great, slow heartbeat, not prisoners, they are workers, skilled workers, and some of them are here by choice, drawn to the promise of regular meals, medical care, and the chance to be part of something that will outlast everything they have ever known. The pyramids are not just tombs, they are, in the words of the people who built them, the horizon of heaven, the place where the pharaoh, a god made flesh, will rise and set like the sun itself forever. To work on the pyramid is not punishment, it is participation in eternity. Let that settle over you like a warm blanket. You are standing at the edge of history's most ambitious construction project, and you have just arrived for your first morning shift. The morning ritual and the rations. Breakfast at the end of the world. Your day begins not with the crack of a whip, but with the wet slap of thick porridge hitting the bottom of a wooden bowl. You sit on a woven mat outside the long gallery-style building where your gang sleeps. The straw pricks at you through your simple linen kilt. The morning air is still cool enough that you can see your breath if you blow it slowly. Around you, dozens of men are doing the same thing, sitting, eating, staring at the ground or the pale sky with the particular vacancy of people who have not yet fully awakened. In this village, food isn't a desperate scramble, it's a logistical marvel. Historians and archaeologists have studied the animal bones found in this settlement for decades. What they found was astonishing. While the rest of Egypt subsisted largely on fish, fowl, and dried legumes, the workers here on the Giza plateau were being fed like elite athletes. Every single day, the state slaughtered thousands of cattle, sheep, and goats to feed the workforce. The bones show evidence of careful butchering, of animals brought here from distant farms and pastures, organized and distributed by a sophisticated bureaucratic machine that made sure every worker got their share. You take a bite of roasted beef, and for a moment, surrounded by the first pale light of dawn, with the slow sounds of 4,000 people beginning their day, the monumental task ahead of you feels manageable. You are sustained by the pharaoh's own stores. Think about what that meant in this world. You are a craftsman, a farmer, a man from a small village somewhere along the Nile where the biggest thing that ever happened was the flood. And now you are here, eating meat that most Egyptians only tasted at festivals, because the state has decided that your body is worth maintaining. For breakfast, alongside the porridge and the beef, there is thick, dark beer, more like a liquid bread than the drink we know today. It is poured from large clay jars, cloudy and slightly sour, full of the calories you will need to haul limestone in a few hours. And there are onions, always onions, sharp, earthy, tasting of the Black Nile soil they were pulled from. You chew slowly. There is no rush yet. A man beside you, older, with the sun-wrinkled neck and thick forearms of someone who has been doing this for years, tears a piece of flatbread and hands half of it to you without saying a word. You take it. You nod. This is the language of early mornings and shared labor. Around you, the village hums to life with the slowness of a river current. Not frantic, not desperate, just the steady, inevitable rhythm of people who know what needs to be done and have done it many times before. Let your breathing match that rhythm, slow and steady, in through the nose, out through the mouth. The work hasn't started yet. For just a few more minutes, there is only this. The warmth of the bowl in your hands, the faint sweetness of bread, and the sky above Giza turning imperceptibly from gray to gold. The work gangs and the physics of the earth, the friends of Khufu. By the time the sun has fully crested the horizon, your file has assembled. A file, from the Greek word for tribe, is your work gang, your unit, your people. 5 of them on this plateau, each named with a kind of affectionate bravado. Historians have found the names carved directly onto the blocks of stone, graffiti left by workers who wanted posterity to know they were here. The friends of Khufu, the drunkards of Menkaure, the craftsmen of the Great Pyramid. These are not the names of prisoners. These are the names of men who were proud of what they were building. Your file has perhaps 200 men in it, divided into smaller crews of about 20. Each crew has a foreman, a man who knows the plans, who can read the architectural hieroglyphs scratched onto papyrus, who has worked his way up through years of service and skill. He is not cruel. He is organized. There is a difference. You walk with your crew toward the base of the plateau, where the great limestone blocks are being moved into position. Your copper chisel is heavy and cool in your hand. The metal is soft, pure copper in this age. Bronze won't arrive for another few centuries, and it will dull quickly against the stone. You will spend as much time resharpening it as you will using it. That's all right. There is a system for that too. You arrive at the worksite as a massive block of limestone is being prepared for movement. It weighs approximately 2.5 tons, as much as 2 large elephants standing side by side. It sits on a heavy wooden sledge, the runners worn smooth from countless previous journeys. A man steps forward with a leather bladder full of water. He pours it slowly, carefully in front of the sledge's runners, just a thin trickle of water onto the parched sand. You watch what happens next with the satisfaction of a thing that is elegant in its simplicity. The dry sand has a high friction coefficient. It grabs and clutches and resists, but wet sand behaves almost like a lubricant. The silica crystals, when saturated, reduce friction dramatically. Ancient Egyptian engineers had discovered something that modern physicists have since confirmed in laboratory studies, that a precise amount of water, about 2% of the sand's volume, creates near ideal conditions for sliding heavy loads. The block begins to move. 40 men lean into their ropes, which are wound around great wooden bollards to control the descent of the stone. They walk with bent knees and low centers of gravity, like men dragging a boat up a beach. Their feet find purchase in the sand. They grunt, they breathe, they pull. The sledge moves forward with a low, rhythmic, grinding thrum. It is slow, magnificently, meditatively slow. This is not the exciting part of pyramid building. This is the boring part. The inch by inch, breath by breath, hour by hour accumulation of effort that will eventually, over the course of 2 decades, become one of the wonders of the ancient world. But there is something deeply calming about it if you let yourself sink into it. Your breathing matches the slow, steady rhythm of the work. Your arms are warm with effort. Your sandals leave neat prints in the damp sand. The sun is warm on your back, but not yet cruel. 1 block, then another, then another. 2.5 million of them in total before the Great Pyramid of Khufu is complete. But you don't think about that. You only think about this one, the one in front of you, the one you are moving right now, this morning, with these men on this quiet plateau above the Nile. Let the rhythm of it settle into your bones. The world narrows to the rope in your hands and the slow grind of the sledge and the soft sound of water being poured onto hot sand. Nothing else matters right now. The skilled craftsman and the ramp debate. The architecture of effort. Not everyone on this plateau is moving stones. To understand the pyramid construction site, you have to let go of the image of a single monolithic task and see it instead as a city of specialized labor. It is an entire civilization in miniature, all pointed toward one purpose. Over near the eastern face of the pyramid, a team of plasterers is smoothing the join between two casing stones with a paste of pure white limestone slurry. Their work is meticulous, unhurried. They use small copper tools and their own calloused fingers to fill every gap, every hairline crack, until the surface is as smooth and uniform as a wall of polished bone. When the pyramid was new, finished, gleaming, cased from base to capstone in blinding white Tura limestone, it would have been visible from 50 miles away. A perfect, mirror-bright mountain rising from the desert floor. Imagine that for a moment as you settle deeper into rest. A mountain made of light. Further along, a team of surveyors is checking the alignment of the next course of stones using plumb bobs, simple weighted strings that hang perfectly vertical, and stretched cords to ensure the angles remain true. The Great Pyramid, when finished, will be accurate to within a fraction of a degree of true north. They are doing this without lasers, without GPS, without anything we would recognize as modern technology. They are doing it with string, stone, stars, and the accumulated knowledge of men who have been building on this plateau for a generation. Then there is the great question, the one archaeologists and engineers still argue about over long cups of coffee. How did they get the blocks up? No one knows for certain. No ancient text describes the ramps in enough detail, but the theories are beautiful in their ingenuity. Perhaps they used a single straight ramp of compacted rubble that grew alongside the pyramid itself, a ramp that would have been almost a mile long by the time the apex was being set in place. Perhaps they used a spiral ramp that wound around the outside of the structure, using the pyramid itself as the scaffold. Perhaps, as some newer theories suggest, they used an internal ramp system built directly into the pyramid's core, a helical passage that workers used to drag the upper blocks from inside. We don't know, and there is something peaceful in that too. Not everything has been solved. Not every question has an answer. The pyramid holds its secrets with the same quiet solidity it has held for 4,500 years. You are a small figure at the base of something enormous and permanent and deeply mysterious. And that is exactly where you should be on a night like this. Medicine, care, and the value of the worker. The healing tents. By midday, the heat has become a physical presence. It presses down from above and radiates up from below, trapped in the pale limestone rubble that covers every surface of the worksite. The light is flat and total and merciless. Even the shadows seem warm. You stop at a water station, a large clay jar sealed with wax and set in the shade of a canvas awning, and drink deeply. The water is cool from the night before, slightly silty, tasting faintly of the river it came from. On your way past the medical compound, you slow. This is one of the most extraordinary things that archaeologists have found in this village. Not the food, not the organization, though both are impressive, but this evidence that workers here received genuine, sophisticated medical care. The skeletons found in the workers' cemetery, a real cemetery with real graves, not a mass pit, show healed fractures. Broken arms set with clean alignment and held in place while they knit back together. Legs that snapped and were carefully repositioned. Skulls that show evidence of trepanation, a surgery in which a hole is drilled or scraped into the bone to relieve pressure and then healed cleanly. the bone regrowing over the opening in the neat pink scallop of survival. These people had brain surgery, and they lived. In the medical tents, you catch the scent of frankincense and honey, both used to dress wounds and prevent infection in a world without antibiotics. Willow bark, rich in natural salicylates, was chewed for pain. Aloe was applied to burns. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, the world's oldest known surgical text, dates to roughly this era and describes 48 different types of injuries and their treatments with a clinical precision that reads, in places, almost like a modern field manual. You pass a man sitting outside the tent with his leg extended, a fresh linen bandage wound neatly from ankle to knee. He is eating. He looks bored. He will be back to work within the week. You realize that in this world, you are valuable, not as a number, not as a body to be spent and discarded, but as a craftsman, as a person whose health and productivity and continued presence on the plateau matters enough to justify the considerable expense of keeping you alive and healthy. This knowledge settles into you like warmth. The community cares for its own. The system, however ancient, however vast, has made room for your particular existence within it. That is a lovely thing to know. Let it sit with you as you drift. Afternoon, the smell of copper and the sound of chisels, the song of the craft. In the afternoon, you move to a different kind of work. The copper smelting fires are burning at the edge of the settlement. You can smell them from half a mile away. A sharp, hot, slightly metallic smell that catches in the back of your throat. Copper doesn't smelt at a low temperature. It requires intense, sustained heat, fed by bellows and dried acacia wood, and the kind of focused technical attention that marks a specialist. These men are not laborers, they are craftsmen. They have apprenticed for years. They know how hot is hot enough, and how hot is too hot by the color of the metal and the sound it makes when it moves. There is a lesson in that, in a craft that is learned through sound and color and feeling rather than formula. You find yourself at a dressing station where a mason is resharpening copper chisels on a flat stone. He works with the same repetitive, meditative motion you have been watching all day. Draw back, press forward. Draw back, press forward. The copper is singing a soft, continuous note against the sharpening stone. It is perhaps the most relaxing sound you have heard all day. You sit nearby and watch. The limestone itself is being dressed, shaped into precise, flat-faced blocks by men who have spent their lives learning the grain of the stone. Limestone is layered like wood. It splits along predictable lines if you know where to tap, how hard to hit, which angle to use. A skilled mason can dress a block to within a millimeter of its specification in a few hours. An unskilled one might spend all day and still produce something unusable. Knowledge is power. Skill is currency. This has always been true. The steady tick-tick-tick of copper on stone fills the afternoon air. It has a regularity, a reassuring sameness that makes the hours feel solid and countable. Tick, tick, tick. The sun begins its long, slow descent toward the western desert. The shadows lengthen. The light softens from harsh white to a warm amber gold. The pace of work slows, imperceptibly at first, and then noticeably, the way a river slows as it approaches the sea. It is nearly evening. Evening in the barracks and the gentle fade. The long gallery, the low fire, the slow night. As the sun sets, and sunsets over the Giza plateau are not subtle things. They are vast operatic events, involving every shade from deep red to pale violet, with the limestone casing of the Great Pyramid turning, briefly, into something that looks like solid fire. You return to the village. The industrial noise of the day fades behind you. The copper smelting fires are banked for the night. The work gangs have been dismissed. The foremen have made their marks on their papyrus tallies. You walk with your gang, your file, back toward the barracks. Someone is telling a story. You can't quite hear the words, just the cadence of it, the low rise and fall of a voice recounting something that happened far away to someone's uncle on the road from Memphis. Someone laughs softly. You eat your evening meal sitting on the ground outside the barracks. More bread, more beer, a bowl of thick lentil soup that smells of garlic and cumin, a handful of dried figs that are sweet and slightly gritty with sand. The evening air is cool and clean after the heat of the day. The breeze from the Nile carries the smell of water and green growing things, a reminder that the desert is not the whole world, that somewhere just a few miles to the east, the great river is still doing what it has always done, flooding, receding, depositing the black silt that makes Egypt possible. You retreat to your sleeping quarters. It is a long gallery-style room, bare mud brick walls, a low ceiling, sleeping platforms along both sides like the berths of a great ship. Your mat is coarse and familiar. Your linen sheet smells of lye soap and old wood smoke. You lie back. Your body reports in, one part at a time. Your shoulders ache from the ropes. Your hands are rough from the copper and the stone. Your feet inside your sandals are slightly swollen from the heat. These are honest pains, the pains of use, of effort, of a body that did something real today. Around you, your gang settles into sleep with the ease of the genuinely tired. The low murmur of conversation fades. Someone snores gently. Someone else shifts, pulls their sheet up, goes still. Through the narrow window slit in the wall, you can see a portion of the night sky. It is extraordinary. No city lights to wash it out, no haze of pollution, just the raw, ancient sky with more stars than seemed possible, crowded together in rivers and clusters, and the faint, luminous band of the Milky Way arching overhead. The Egyptians knew those stars. They had names for all of them. The pyramid itself is aligned to them with a precision that still astonishes modern astronomers. The entrance shafts point deliberately to specific stars at their highest point in the sky. You are lying beneath the same stars that the builders used to orient their greatest work. That is a thought worth resting in. The pyramids loom above you in the moonlight, enormous, impossible, patient. They do not look from here like the monuments of a tyrant. They look like what they are, the accumulated effort of thousands of hands over decades of time, proof of what human beings can do when they are organized, fed, cared for, and given a purpose large enough to justify the effort. The night is a realm of rest and prayer. You listen to the distant howl of a jackal somewhere on the desert flats. You hear the soft, almost inaudible creak of the mud brick walls as they cool in the night air. You hear the steady breathing of the men around you, each one a person with a name, a home somewhere along the river, a family waiting for them to come back. The plateau settles into a deep, eternal silence. The past is a quiet and distant shore, and you are safe within its embrace. The fire is low, the blankets are heavy, the stars are enormous and cold and ancient above you. The long day has ended. 4,500 years from now, someone will stand at the base of what you built today and look up, and their breath will catch in their throat. They will not know your name, but they will feel you there. Rest now. Good night.